Hey everyone, as you know, the Silence and the Fury DLC is being released today. With this release, we are introducing quite a few new units for the Beastmen and Lizardmen factions, along with the Beastmen campaign rework. In this video, we'll be covering the basic uses of the new units, and we'll cover the Beastmen campaign rework another time, or you could just check out the other larger YouTubers that have already covered it. Timestamps can be found in the video description below. Taurox the Brass Bull is one of the new legendary lords introduced in this DLC for the Beastmen faction. He is an absolute monster in melee and can easily defeat other legendary lords. He's great for fighting alongside your front lines and sending after the enemy lords and heroes on the battlefield. The Doom Bull is a new generic lord made available with this DLC. He is basically a generic version of Taurox. Can do everything Taurox can do, but slightly weaker. Make sure to have him fighting in your front lines and send him after those enemy lords and heroes. The Great Bray Shamans are also some new lords. There are 4 types: Beast, Death, Shadows, and Wild. These lords now allow the Beastmen faction to access a variety of magic. Keep these behind your front lines and away from any sort of melee combat. Now we'll move on to the new heroes. First is the Wargore. The Wargore specializes in anti-infantry, so you'll definitely want him fighting in the front lines. He won't be as good at fighting other lords and heroes, but he definitely can take out the wizards. A side bonus, he does have some passive buffs, buffing up your frontline units. Next we have the Bray Shaman heroes. There are still 4 of them, being the same lords of magic: Beast, Death, Shadows, and Wild. We'll do the same thing with these. Bring them when you want to access these lords of magic and keep them away from melee combat. So we do have a new chariot unit, the Tuskgore Chariots. These are your low tier chariots. They are considered anti-infantry with armor-piercing damage. These should be used for mowing through armored infantry. These chariots do have the new mass values that the developers introduced. The new mass changes for these chariots make them even stronger, considering now they'll easily plow through infantry without getting caught like before. The Jabberslythe is a terror-causing monstrous unit that has magical and poison attacks. It is considered anti-infantry, so it is very useful for wreaking havoc on the frontline engagements. It has access to a spell called Spurting Bile Blood, which is best used against lightly armored infantry. It also has access to the Aura of Madness, which causes constant damage to combatants within 40 meters as long as its leadership is above 50%. The Jabberslythe is no joke, and you should really consider bringing these in your armies, just in case you don't have enough monstrous units already. The Vorbergland Broodmother is our Regiment of Renown version of the Jabberslythe. The main difference between these two is that the Vorbergland Broodmother has armor sundering attacks rather than poison attacks. It also has an upgraded version of its previous spell, now being called Searing Bile Blood, which is a vortex best used against armored infantry, and it also reduces armor by 30 for 10 seconds. The Gorgon is another terror-causing monstrous unit, except this one is more specialized in taking down large armored targets, like Heavy Cav or other monstrous units. It has the ability Blood Greed and a new ability which is just another variation of regeneration. Even though the Gorgon is specialized for anti-large, it can still be used against infantry, so the priority targets are large units, but if there aren't any, you can just send them after any elite infantry on the battlefield. The Blood Brute Behemoth is the Regiment of Renown version of the Gorgon. While it is very similar to the standard counterpart, it has 2 abilities making it unique. The Behemoth has scaling damage, meaning its damage will increase based on the amount of HP its target has lost. And it also has another ability called Frenzy, making it even stronger than before. This unit will still have the same rolls as the normal Gorgon. Now we will move on to the new units for the Lizardmen faction. The new legendary lord for the Lizardmen will be Oxodal. Oxodal is a chameleon skink, so he will be able to fire while moving. His missile attacks are considered magical, and he does have scaling damage, meaning his damage increases based on the amount of HP his target has already lost. He has decent melee stats, however you should probably leave him out of melee combat as he is more of a ranged specialist. The first new unit for the Lizardmen are the Chameleon Stalkers. These are a unique unit to the Lizardmen faction as they are a shock infantry, meaning they have higher charge bonus compared to normal infantry. They do have ranged ammunition, but not much at all. Given that they have Vanguard deployment and stock, these should be used for flanking the frontline engagements. You could also consider using them for cyclocharging when flanking. Before you charge them in, just make sure to fire off all of their ammunition first. The Kotal is a flying support monster. It has decent melee combat stats, so it can be used for engagements with light infantry. Its main strength is its access to Uranon's Thunderbolt and Lesser Chain Lightning. These are great spells, and they do not cost any winds of magic, so you get to cast them for free. Also, they do provide stock to all units within 40 meters, which is great for sneaking up multiple units to flank. The Spirit of Tepik is the renowned version of the Kotal. It is the same as far as uses, but it does bring two different spells. Lesser Banishment, which is just a weaker version of Banishment, and Shield of Thorns, which provides all allies within 40 meters a solid 20% physical resistance, and an extra 30% extra base weapon damage. The Pharaoh Troglodyte is your basic missile monster. It has quite a short range, but pretty decent missile strength. Its ammunition is considered armor-piercing, anti-large, and poison, meaning your priority targets should be large armored units. Try to use up its ammunition before sending this into melee combat. Lastly, we have the Pale Death, which is our renowned version of the Troglodyte. There isn't much different about this unit except for the fact that it comes with Primeval Roar, which buffs all allies within 40 meters with a huge 24 melee attack, making him more of a support missile monster. Keep it close to your frontline engagements so it will continue to buff them while it bombards large armored units. So that about wraps it up for the new units being introduced in the Silence and the Fury DLC. Hope you found it useful for your future campaigns. If you are interested, I do have Warhammer 2 live streams on Thursdays and Fridays from 8 PM to 10 PM Central Time. If you want, come stop by and chat. Also, I have a Discord server set up for the community. This gives everyone a place to interact with me and just chat about the game if they have any questions. If you enjoy this content, make sure to drop a like. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.